Welcome to Load Bearing Beams. It's Friday, June 26, 2020.
You know what that means? Somebody's 36.
You!
That's
Happy
me.
birthday.
Thanks.
I love you. You're so great.
Thank you.
Let's not get divorced.
Anita.
This is
Not
the
today.
podcast where we talk about movies with people that we're married to, and we sort of try to work out our marital problems that arise as a result of watching movies of questionable quality and then trying to do things like record a podcast and make videos.
In the middle of work day.
Yeah.
When we don't get paid to do this. Right. My name's Lacey Roth.
We're getting all the big Am-Petroleum dollars. That's something, you know?
Spoof dollars.
And I'm Matt Stokes. And birthday lady, I'm sorry, birthday woman.
Hey.
What is a load-bearing beam?
Oh, right. Okay, so the name of our podcast is Load Bearing Beams. Did we say that?
Yeah.
All right.
Hello and welcome to Load Bearing
Oh.
Beams.
Okay. Load Bearing Beam is a movie that you watched when you were younger, and it just got slowly baked into your personality, probably because you watched it a bunch of times. Maybe you didn't have a lot of access to anything else. There was not streaming, etc. It became something you knew so well that you quoted it a lot, and you probably even forgot that the quotes belong to the movie. You just kind of say things.
Mm-hmm.
You stumble upon a person. Maybe you're married to them, and they do not know what the hell you're quoting, or they mention they haven't seen said movie. And to you, this is crazy because there's not a world where this does not happen. Out of curiosity, you watch it again with them, and now that you've made yourself a big old fan of it, you hope it's not just the worst. You hope it doesn't pull a hocus pocus, as we like to say. But regardless, you might think it's bad in the moment. For me, anyway, when I'm watching it, I might even have a whole podcast where I'm explaining how terrible it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I do tend to reset because it's a load-bearing beam. It's inside the structure that makes my brain and guts and poop.
Yeah.
My guts and poop brain.
Sometimes we talk about load-bearing beams. So when we started the podcast, we were toying with the idea of maybe not just doing movies, but also doing other things. What if we did like
shows,
albums, shows?
We right away thought that music would be, well, we'd get divorced for sure. And I'd have nothing to talk about and you would never shut up.
It's a hard thing to talk about. Music is such a visceral, you respond to it so viscerally. And, you know, if you're just like, no, but listen to the quality of the production and how interesting the songwriting is or whatever, all of that, it's hard. And plus, music is something that you appreciate with repetition way more than movies. No?
Okay, there is like a peak for movie repetition, but there is something to the idea of repetition that does make something end up being a load-bearing beam if you've imprinted on it at a certain period of time. And absolutely that's true with music, but it's almost endless how many times you can listen to a song. But I will say music has a much bigger window and maybe no window at all for how repetition can make you appreciate a song you didn't think you loved at first. There's not like an age window where
That's
there
true.
does seem to be one for movies. There does seem to be a time in your life when you cannot have 6 viewings of one thing and like it more without it starting to decline.
Yeah. So you're saying, wait, what are you saying?
I'm saying music, the repetition of hearing a song, probably because it's only 3 minutes long and it's got a nice beat or whatever. There's a much bigger window in your life where repetition of music makes it to where you can fall in love with it. Where repetition of a movie after a certain point in your life can make you hate it.
That's true. Although I do kind of feel similarly about music because I have much less capacity, like just in my life now, to listen over and over again to the same things. And I try to be pretty deliberate. I know I'm weird and different, but I try to be more deliberate with music that I listen to. Like I only have so many hours in the day, so I'm going to choose carefully to try to listen to something new. But I feel like I've always been confused about how music critics can even. What is? I don't feel like I can judge a song until I've heard it like 10 times.
Right.
And so how does a music reviewer review a new album? Like they get it, they listen to it, and then they write about it?
It's a really good point. And that speaks to what I was saying, because I completely understand how someone can watch a movie one time and critically get that correct.
Right.
Even if there are more interesting things to find after several viewings, I always find that that doesn't make it a strong point for the movie. It should have made things easy to find and worked them in enough and written them in enough to earn finding those things. You shouldn't have to hunt for them.
Yeah.
Where music, for whatever reason, completely different, opposite even.
And maybe the primary reason I think for that is that you're usually doing music while you're usually listening to music while you're doing something else. Whereas a movie, you're supposed to sit in a dark theater and only focus on that. But I remember like Angels and Airwaves, Tom DeLonge's band, after he left Blink-182 the first time, he put out a blog post where he's like, it is so important that you turn down all the lights in your room.
Ew.
Light candles.
Ew.
Hold hands with your lover while you listen to this.
He didn't say any of those things.
Listen to my first album, We Don't Need to Whisper. And
well, then we don't need to listen.
And I'm sure other musicians have done that. But yeah, it would be great if your audience could just sit there and listen and not do anything else and not have any other stimuli.
It's like a cucumber. If I need to cover it in ranch, was it good?
That's not what he's saying.
Oh, that's what he's saying.
He's not saying it's a cucumber that you need to dress up.
He's saying there are lots of things you need to do to make sure you really get the song. Why don't you just let us get it?
Because he's saying you won't be able to get it unless you really focus.
That makes the song weak.
Yeah. Well, that album sucked. Why was I? Oh, because there's other things that aren't movies
that lend themselves to being more load-bearing beamy because they're not so fast where it would get out of control.
Right. One thing, like maybe one of my principal things is, I went to Disney World a bunch when I was a kid, and Splash Mountain was my favorite ride. And when I would, have dreams after leaving Disney World about that I was back there, when I would daydream in class, the only thing I was really thinking about was Splash Mountain and about Brer Rabbit and the animatronics and stuff and the song
so the story, not just that it's the scariest fucking ride there.
All of it. Yeah, all of it. The smell, that smells great.
There's a smell.
The fake rocks, the
fox,
the bear, all the singing birds.
I was saying fake rocks.
I gotcha. Yeah,
no,
portmanteau, faking rocks. But there is Brer Fox, of course. And so I would say that ride is a load-bearing beam. You can't take it out of me. It's so foundational. And they just announced that.
Wait, so then going back and seeing that it was depicting, which I had no idea. I probably felt the same way. I'd only been to Disney World once as a child, but that is absolutely, if I made a postcard with my brain, it's that. But I knew the song and the story creeped me out and didn't feel right. I didn't know it was based on just the most racist shit ever.
Yeah, so
until I went and saw it as an adult.
I'm sure everyone knows that it's.
I don't know. I don't think.
No? Okay,
so
Splash Mountain is based on this Disney movie from 1946 called Song of the South, which was based on a series of books called The Uncle Remus Stories. And they are so racist.
It's like the happy slave depiction, right?
Yeah, and he is not a slave. He works happily on this, or maybe he is, but he's just so happy because they treat him so well. And this movie was controversial even when it came out. People were like, I don't know about this.
Right.
But it was a giant hit, and it mixed live action with animation. The guy who played Uncle Remus won a special honorary Oscar.
For black people? Like, because he shouldn't be getting one in the proper way?
That's one. Now, Hattie McDaniel had won a competitive Oscar, so they were capable of giving competitive Oscars to black actors. That was just one of those things. It was like, we want to just give you something. We want to shout you out in some way. The song Zippity Doodah was very iconic. And
still used.
This movie got re-released in theaters like for the next 40 years. It was they had a theatrical run in the 80s, and in 89 is when they made Splash Mountain and decided, let's use Song of the South as the story to depict on the ride. And they don't,
because what a lovely story.
They get out all of the really racist parts.
They don't even have Uncle Remus, right?
I remember
that somehow feels the most racist part of it.
Appearing in, and I could be totally Mandela affecting this, that while you're waiting in line in the rocks,
he's in the queue.
In the queue, yeah. There's a you see just like silhouettes of like shadow cartoons talking, and these kids say, Uncle Remus, tell us a story about Splash Mountain, and then he does. I think that was his only presence.
That might be the most racist thing about the whole ride, is that they completely take him out
of it. Yeah. Instead, and so the conceit of the movie was this happy Uncle Remus guy would tell stories, folk tales, of Rare Rabbit, and then the movie would then cut away to a totally animated segment. And the ride combines all three of these animated segments and tells sort of a story of those. And it was always again, they built the ride in 1989. It's not like this ride goes all the way back to the movie's origins.
So when we went recently-ish, that was open, and so I got to go on it. But you said that what had been taken out to make it okay? Because, I mean, this was 2019.
Uncle Remus himself.
He was the racist part?
So you're just seeing his stories, and there's nothing about
the voices are
black person working or a freed slave or a slave after the Civil War working on a farm for white people.
He said all that in the queue. Otherwise, that wasn't in the ride. I'm not saying
he said.
But then what did they take out?
They took out him.
His voice in the queue.
Yeah. So if you watch the movie,
I guess I'd get it better.
So I've seen Song of the South. It's not very good. My grandpa had a bootleg DVD. I don't know how somebody must have somebody went out of their way to buy that for him because that movie's never been commercially available in America. I think the last time it was officially released was like a Laserdisc in Japan. But somebody bootlegged it and put it on a DVD, and somebody ordered it from my grandpa on eBay, and I watched it.
That says a lot about your grandpa.
Yep. And the movie's not very good, but if you just watch the animated segments, those are the good parts, and they're like the least racist parts. That's why I'm saying they took out the racists.
And we are talking about this because
a few weeks ago, for a long time, there's been a movement to get them to retheme Splash Mountain, because it never quite made sense that they chose Song of the South.
And for lots of well-meaning white people, it is a load-bearing beam of a ride, and it makes you feel wrong.
There's always been an online contingent of people who want the ride rethemed. Take out the Splash Mountain, take out the Brer Rabbit story, replace it with something else. And there was a petition a few weeks ago that gained a lot of traction about there was a Change.org petition to replace Brer Rabbit Song of the South with The Princess and the Frog. Mm-hmm. And I was quite surprised when a few days ago Disney announced that they are indeed doing that. They're going to remove the Brer Rabbit story and replace it with Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, there's a water element that's very central to Princess and the, besides the fact that it's the only black princess that's already awesome. But they can make water work. Not a waterfall, but they'll figure it out.
It's a natural fit. The Splash Mountain, like theme park people love it so much because of how many robots it has. And that's because they closed a ride at Disney, I don't know if it was World or Land, that was like an all animatronic show. And then they just put them into Splash Mountain. That's why like at the end of the ride, you'll pass by like a riverboat that has all these singing robots, and it just seems like they went overboard with putting robots in there. But that's because they had them on hand.
Robots that look like what? R2-D2?
No, animatronics.
Yes,
animals
that are okay. You didn't say animatronics. The animatronic can mean anything.
An animatronic means a robot on a theme.
I know. I was just wondering what kind. Just because another ride closed doesn't mean it's not fucking fish or something.
So the ride that closed was this like singing review where these good old animals. I no longer care.
I just wanted to know that they were animals that they fit in with the theme because it would be much funnier if they didn't.
Yeah. So I don't know how they're going to do the Princess and the Frog. Are they going to put new skins, as they say, on the existing robots? Are they going to keep some of the animals there, but take out? But
the animals fit. Some of them do. Swampish reasons.
I don't know. This is it's a good idea. I do love Splash Mountain.
Is the Voodoo Man sensitive? Is the either one of them actually? Either one of the people who practice.
Yeah, he's a witch doctor.
Occult.
He's I guess. I don't know, man.
We'll see.
I don't know. Sully started watching Princess and the Frog recently, and
It's really good.
It's good. It's better than I remembered. I saw it like one time pretty early after it came out and was not that impressed, but it's very good. I'm happy that there will be
It's hard to get into anything New Orleans themed, and that might be what kind of irked you. I have a hard time. But because
that's where we live, and, and it's just like a grab bag of New Orleans references. Like, I got beignets on a fan boat. with some crawfish.
There goes the powdered sugar.
Yeah. What is a ride? What Disney property, movie, or TV show or whatever that you'd like to see in the Disney parks?
Like
so mine.
Disney.
Do you want? I can say mine while you think about it.
Why not? Go ahead.
Well, so
why would you travel to the future?
Well, the way people would talk about how they would cry when they saw the Millennium Falcon in Galaxy's Edge was not. I felt that way when I went to Springfield at Universal Studios. So it's really great. And yet I feel like Disney would do a better job, and Disney owns The Simpsons now. So if we could really if just a whole park, if you could go to the nuclear power plant and like Barney's Bowl-O-Rama and the elementary school, I don't know why, but go learn in the elementary school. There'd be like an oil rig ride maybe. So
anyway, back to me, right?
Yeah, but I didn't really give an answer.
You just fucking said you want them to do.
Fine, that's my answer.
What's your answer?
I don't know, like Pinocchio and a whale or something.
Ew.
Okay, what's your answer?
Okay, well, I get to pick Fox stuff then. Yeah, because they own Fox.
Disney owns Fox, yes.
Okay, well then it's obviously Bob's Burgers. Oh my God. But that it sucks because you said the Simpsons thing first. So I don't mean to be copying you because maybe it's strange that if they had a Simpsons world and a Bob's Burgers world. But
no, it'd be perfect.
I want to eat a Bob's Burger so bad.
That would be great.
I want to go to their stupid touch tank aquarium. I want to go to the Wonder Wharf. Oh my God. I mean, it's got a theme park.
So you want the whole town.
The whole town's only a street that ends at the Wonder Wharf. So I just want that main street. I don't need Gail's house. I don't need the school. I just want that street because I want to go to Mort's funeral. You know, your funeral. I want to go to the stationery store across the street, and I really want to go to Reflections with the very grumpy old man and woman. Pay and poop that sell art supplies.
Do you want to go to Jimmy Pesto's?
Yeah, and I want it to be like Elbow Room in Canada where they're mean to you on purpose.
Okay, so the waiters would yell, you'd be like, I'd like some spaghetti. And like, yeah, you would, you asshole.
What a dumb face. Zoom.
Yeah. Great.
Because you'd be suspected of being a Bob lover because you'd stop there first and he'd see you. And so that's the premise of him being mean, not kissing your ass.
Yeah, because everyone would go to Bob's Burgers first. It would be crowded. They'd have to go to Jimmy Pesto's. God damn it, we have to go to Jimmy Pesto's. This is a great idea. I guess they'll be in the same park. Let's throw in King of the Hill. You can go to Arlen. You can get beer from an ice chest.
King of the Hill just isn't as world building.
Oh, I disagree.
Okay. Anita, get on the phone.
Fine. Maybe this is the area outside the park. This is your downtown Disney, is you get to walk through the alley.
I mean, I'll take a beer drinking venue from any cartoon. I love the idea that the King of the Hill one would just be outside in front of a fence with an ice chest. I love that. On a sofa.
Let's go to Strickland Propane.
But it would be cool if that fence with the ice chest was right next to Moe's Tavern and then right next to, I don't know, where the fuck do they drink at Linda's living room? Yeah. She's always drunk.
Could you go into the Belcher's house?
Oh my God.
Maybe a walkthrough like Mickey's house?
Okay, I came. Yes, that sounds amazing. I want to go in Louise's room very much.
What about that room?
Because it's made out of a converted closet. I just want to see how small it is.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, and you could go in the crawl space. Would that be like a ride?
Oh, okay. That would get a little congested. I guess I don't want to do that. No. But I like that it would be there.
Maybe you have to go through
Maybe Bob speaks to us through the walls like he did in the crawl space episode.
Great. And then you don't need to have a walk around Bob character because it's like Bob's always in the crawl space.
Sure.
Develop some sort of AI where he can respond to you.
See, but what I liked about The Simpsons world was that they didn't bother having any characters at all. Because that really kind of takes you out of it. The whole point is to be immersed in it. Yeah. So I think I want to make my own burger. I want to wear the thing. I want to serve the food. No?
No, it's just this.
I think that the waiters at Jimmy Pesto's could just look Italian, be real people, don't wear a big old head or anything that takes you out of the moment, but and talk like him. That's fine. Don't do a lookalike family for Bob's Burgers. You get to be that. You get to explore that area.
Okay, I agree. Yeah. Walk around characters totally take you out of it.
Although I would love someone, you could get an actor enough to look like Mr. Fischoeder. He's got such a real life look. Because his hair, his suit, all of it's so specific that you could get that on.
You'd probably get Kevin Kline himself.
What's he doing?
Nothing.
In between seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad he didn't turn out to be problematic. I was waiting for it.
You were waiting for him specifically?
He just seems
Aren't you just waiting for everybody?
Sure. But him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Maybe because he always gives me the creeps just a little bit. I always like him, but I'm always just a little like,
You were...
he's got daddy vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, they're no good.
Vibes.
They're no good dads. I was reading to prepare for this episode. I was reading some reviews by this great critic from the 90s, Jonathan Rosenbaum, and I thought, like, if I quote from him, do I need to go ahead and look and see if he's done anything? So I went to his Wikipedia page, looked for personal life or controversies. I didn't find anything. So I'm like 95% sure this guy's okay.
Why did you think to check him out? Because you haven't heard about him in a while?
Because
he's a critic.
He's still alive, but he doesn't work anymore. And it's like, I don't know him as well as I know like Roger Ebert. Is there a reason? Let me just look into that real quick.
It's probably a good idea.
Because I was reading, he had an essay he wrote about how Saving Private Ryan was the shitty war movie and Small Soldiers was the great war movie.
What?
These movies came out pretty close together in 1998 because it was from the vantage point that Saving Private Ryan is a gung-ho, classic, traditional war movie. And there's a saying, there's a saying that you can't make an anti-war movie because any depiction of war inherently makes it look cool.
Yeah.
And when this is like showing such old-fashioned heroism of soldiers.
Oh, yeah. It makes you feel nostalgic and patriotic.
Whereas Small Soldiers was saying it's all fucked.
It's all for profit, you idiots.
It's all for profit. There's a machine that makes us go to war, that creates conflicts or amplifies conflicts because there's
now it's brainwashing your 7-year-olds.
Tons of money. And we raise our kids to go participate in this machine by making them play with G.I. Joes and shit. Now he's wrong. Saving Private Ryan's a great movie and Small Soldiers is not. Which
I take his point.
Yeah, I want to agree with that.
Sure.
That's the kind of thing I would like to believe. Small Soldiers.
There they are.
Is the 1998 movie directed by Joe Dante.
This might be the longest intro we've ever fucking had. Okay, so this is your load-bearing beam. Let's make that very clear.
It is my load-bearing beam. Lacey pointed out that I'm on a losing streak.
Pooper streak. Oh my God.
So what do we have? We have
Ninja Turtles. And then, I mean, The Mummy 2, which was and then this?
Yeah.
I feel like it was a long streak. What was before that? Exactly.
What was World War Z?
Oh, okay.
But I'm trying to
I know.
I'm trying to think of movies that would give us grist for content, you know? I could choose like a movie I haven't seen in a long time that I'm like totally confident is good.
Like
we could watch that and then we'd be like, oh, this is good.
Just say it. Just state what it is.
What Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? I don't know.
I've seen it.
Okay.
Eat shit.
Yeah, this was a movie I really liked when I was like 11 and 12. My brother really liked it too. We had the toys, the Commando Elite.
I do not have any memory.
Make them fight.
I have no memory of these toys existing in real life.
Yeah, but you were past toy age. You would have been 16 or so.
Speak for yourself. Yeah, but I had a brother who was 5 years younger, and we didn't have these in our home. We didn't have money.
Definitive. Okay, well, the toy. Yeah, there were tons of toys. This movie existed because they wanted to sell lots of toys. Doesn't mean
it's a real duh moment for me because I did not even when watching it. I'm like, this just didn't.
Wonder
have
if they ever made toys about this.
No, just was thinking. I have no recollection of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm supposed to see these figures and get nostalgic and be like, yeah, those guys, and it's like they're so fucking ugly.
Mm-hmm. So had you seen this before?
I mean, enough of, yes, because I would have liked Jay Moore. I would have already been into I would have been very into Dennis Leary, Phil Hartman, and I wouldn't know his name, but I love the dad, which I can't think of. It was Kevin Dunn. I was very into comedy from a young age and stand up and stuff, so that would have been why I liked it.
Okay.
They don't even get to do much. And Dave Cross.
Mm-hmm.
David.
I was not a comedy kid, so the only reason I knew all these people was because they're in Small Soldiers.
That's what they're known for.
I mean, I guess I knew Phil Hartman from The Simpsons, and I knew him because my parents would talk. Did you know he died? It's that's what I knew about him.
Yeah, that he's dead.
So okay, this was 98 picture directed by Joe Dante. Joe Dante, very interesting guy who got his start in the Roger Corman world. Roger Corman was this producer of B movies, really cheaply produced, schlocky horror and exploitation movies.
He had a good saying. Say it.
Oh, he said that if you make a movie for me, if you make a movie for me,
if you successfully
make a movie for me. If you successfully make a movie for me,
oh my God,
you'll never have to make another movie for me again. So, Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, Ron Howard, Jonathan Demme, James Cameron, and Joe Dante.
It's crazy that they were all friends.
Tons of these people all worked for him and would get to, take their hand and direct in a picture. And Dante, after Jaws in 1975, there were all these copycat movies about creatures of the deep, in the water, orca the killer whale, tentacles, claws.
Claws?
Yes,
like Santa?
claws.
Is he underwater?
Claws
That's what
with
he
a
does
W.
in the off season. With who?
With a W. Claws with a W.
Not like a claws.
And maybe that wasn't under the water. I don't know what it's about.
Crabs, right?
There you go.
That's
yes, it's about crabs, definitively.
I did this, so now we know it's true.
Mm-hmm. He was assigned. Dante was assigned to direct this movie called Piranha.
Wait a minute. Is this why when we were walking the other day, we were in the car, you said, guess how many people would you say have been attacked by piranhas?
No, have been killed by piranhas in the history of
and
mankind.
I guessed 12.
Uh-huh. And I said, no, it's 0. There's 0.
Which I was still shocked. I knew it would be low.
There's 0 confirmed.
Well, yeah, because they're dead.
Deaths that can be attributed to piranhas, deaths of humans.
And I love that. I love why.
Because I watched this video called, as I was just looking up videos about piranhas, because I watched the movie Piranha,
right?
Which I had never seen to prepare for this episode, and there was a video I stumbled upon called "What would happen if you jumped into a tank of piranhas?" And the answer was nothing really. They would swim away from you.
You would be alone in that tank because they are like roaches, more scared of you than you are of them.
But not so scared that they'll attack you because they only attack things their own size, and they're not like aggressive little monsters.
Well, they're flight. They're not fight.
They're flight. They're not fight.
They eat for food like a normal thing with teeth.
Yeah, they have little sharp teeth.
Right. Just because something has the ability to hurt you with something that they own doesn't mean that they're also evil. Yeah. And it makes complete sense when you think about it.
Apparently,
human meat.
God, I don't remember the exact details, but there was Theodore Roosevelt after he was done being president and went on his tour of the world where he'd just go to a country and they'd have a parade for him and he'd wear a helmet. And
to me, yeah, I feel like he wore a hat and those pants that go out a little bit and then come back in. Riding pants.
Yeah, he'd get on an elephant or something and go shoot another elephant or whatever. Yeah, and
he'd get on the elephant and shoot it.
He'd shoot the elephant.
Put the gun to its head.
He went to the Amazon and whatever conquered people down there that he was no doubt doing horrible things to, honored him by they had a pond of piranhas that they didn't feed, and then they threw a cow into it, and the piranhas massacred the cow. And Roosevelt was like, I must tell everyone in America that this is what piranhas are like. They're vicious and hungry all the time.
Okay.
And that is the source of the
Teddy Roosevelt
cultural understanding that piranhas are these vicious little things who will hunt as a pack.
Right.
Which they would not do to you if you jumped in a pool.
Use their school mentality to know when, birds, when they fly and they know when to turn just at the right moment. Schools of fish can do the same thing. Mm-hmm. They use that as militaristic weaponry against the human body.
To be fair, I would think the same thing if I saw it.
You're being fair to Teddy. That's good.
Yeah.
He didn't mean to spread lies about the piranha. I'm sure the piranha's fine with it.
Speaking of Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
There was no, never mind.
All right.
So that was Piranha, 1978. that movie was a pretty big success, a surprising success, and it launched him on his directorial career, which peaked in 1984 when he made Gremlins.
When did he do Piranha?
78.
78. He had a 6-year. All right. Well, 6 years to the peak. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think he did Inner Space, The Howling. I think those are the 2 movies he made between. Okay. I've never seen either. He makes Gremlins. Gremlins is a giant hit. What do you think of Gremlins?
We watched it the other night, and I was fully prepared to be on my phone the whole time because I thought I'd be very bored. I remember it being...
You'd seen it before.
But a long time ago. I was probably very young. I did not grow up with an older sibling. I was the older sibling. I wasn't close to older cousins at that time. I am now. Meaning I had no cool or even just shitty adolescent in my life to be like, let's watch something scary. Mm-hmm. So any movie I ever watched would usually be alone, and I discovered it on my own. And if there was any hint of that there would be something scary in it, I would immediately abort because I don't get down like that alone. Mm-hmm. So my guess is I probably saw this alone, or I saw this on accident. And I remember it being terrifying, mm-hmm. which is very strange to remember something being so scary and then to realize now that it's a comedy that's really nice. Mm-hmm. So I don't what the fuck? Maybe I watched the first part of it and like the trailers lead you to believe it was going to be something nice for kids, and then it just was not.
It swerves. No, it
was, but like maybe if I was 6, it wasn't.
Right. Even though it was a giant hit and probably it was such a big hit because it swerves like that. It starts out you think you're watching one kind of movie and then it turns into something else.
I guess it's hard for me to be unbiased about it because I know where it's going, but I feel like there's so much foreshadowing the whole time. Mm-hmm. They give you a big bunch of doofuses that you don't mind seeing die later, or like they set it up for who's going to get some trouble. Yeah. Except for that one lady. I just remembered. The lady from the bank, that weird character who's like a Wicked Witch of the West type who wants to kill his main character's dog. Yeah. Nothing ever happens to her, huh?
No.
She never comes up again. I don't
remember.
No, she's just, I don't think so. I just remember thinking, oh, she's going to die a certain way.
You did say that, and it was like, well, yeah. I high-fived you. I was like, totally. Never see, she might as well, as they say, she might as well have been wearing a red shirt because the red-shirted Star Trek actors were just extras who were going to die later in the episode.
No, she didn't.
And she didn't. Did she? I don't remember.
Anyway.
But I didn't grow up with it either. But I bet that like the premise of our podcast, and for people our age, I bet like tons of them would say Gremlins is a load-bearing beam. But it's not for us. I'd seen it when I was 20 and I didn't get it. Like, I think.
It's a weird statement.
Yeah.
You must have been primed.
I was primed for something. And when it wasn't that thing, I guess I just thought, like, this is stupid.
But what could you have been primed for and then been let down?
I don't know.
Maybe you hadn't yet gotten appreciation for, like, practical effects, and you were a little too into the depths of CGI blooming at that time. And
maybe. I think that, well... The Zach Galligan who plays the lead is like the least urgent.
Oh my! He's a Princess Leia character of this fucking movie. Yes.
Lacey hates Princess Leia because
she's got no urgency or energy.
Urgent. Yeah.
He is always taking his fucking time. Everyone else is like,
what are they doing up there? What are the Gremlins doing?
Oh man!
Gregory Smith, who plays
it's aftermath.
Gregory Smith, who plays the lead in Small Soldiers, similarly kind of not much.
Not much there.
Very Jeb Bush-esque. Doesn't seem like
I find him too cranky.
The gravity of everything.
He doesn't seem good looking enough or cool enough for Kirsten Dunst. And
but she's really different. She looks at your soul. Oh. She likes Led Zeppelin, even though she's a girl. Which, she has anti-war posters on her walls. Whoa. So something's up.
And they both like the X-Files.
they have this really weird conversation. I don't know if it's either like
They just have to give you like a crash course in why they get each other. You're talking about after they clean up the store and it
and
gets
she's
messed
like,
up?
"Do you watch Party of Five?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I hate it. Me too." "Do you like Led Zeppelin?" "Yes." And I don't. It just sort of goes on like that. Question answer. Question answer.
They had to get it out the way so that you knew, oh, they get it. They're
Yes.
going to be together. Thank goodness.
But I didn't know if that was either like a parody of bad teenage exchanges, if it was really well observed because teenagers are stupid and awkward, or this is just bad writing. Anyway.
Still don't know.
Not important.
Okay. Small Soldiers.
Gremlins.
Fuck.
Gremlins was produced by Steven Spielberg. It was the first movie that he made for his Amblin production company that he himself did not direct. Mm-hmm. And they marketed it exactly like it was a Steven Spielberg movie. They used the same color tones in the marketing materials for Gremlins that they did for E.T. And remember, E.T. at the time was either the first or second highest grossing movie of all time.
I remember now.
And it was apparently Steven Spielberg's idea. Joe Dante wanted Gizmo to transform into Stripe the evil gremlin. And Spielberg was so into the puppet that they had made for Gizmo, he said, "Why don't we just let him stay nice the whole movie?"
Yeah, and he gets tortured. That's cute.
And Dante said, like, if we hadn't done that, there's no way that movie would be like the giant hit beloved classic that it is. Yeah. There's something about that little guy.
Oh, that little guy.
Yeah.
Because it reminds you of where this all started. And the innocent, whatever. He's just cute.
He's very cute.
Big eyes and little. Anytime his feet do anything, I'm like, ah.
Yeah. So that was his biggest success.
And Furbies wouldn't have happened.
He kind of it's never been able to really get close again. And it seems like I've read a bunch of interviews with him. He's done like retrospectives where he's like looking back at each of his movies. And what he always seems to say is like, "Oh, the fucking studio made me do this, or they made me." For example, with Small Soldiers, he was told he was making a very teenage-oriented PG-13 action movie with lots of violence, but they also wanted to sell toys, so they decided, nope, we have to tone down the violence. We have to make this something that we can sell to kids.
It does feel very like, at parts, like, who is this for?
Mm-hmm.
The audience I'm confused. I mean, it feels the only thing I can decide is like if they bothered putting these high caliber comedians in here, even though they don't really let them to be very funny, it had to be teens and older. Like the casting seems very mature. It didn't seem at all relatable for children. They didn't spend any money on any, like the 7-year-old in it. Who the fuck is he? Spent all their money on adults.
Right. Like they did the casting and everything to set up like they were making, an older person movie.
Yes, they were going to say edgier things. It was going to be more. It seemed like it was going to be more leaning on the adults to pull the whole thing, and then all of a sudden the story is pulled along by just the okay kids. Because that's Kirsten Dunst's second or third movie or something.
No, she had like Interview with the Vampire.
Oh yeah, so that's one.
Jumanji
2.
But
I said second or third movie.
Okay, but I'm sure she did tons of other stuff
Whatever.
Too. She was, she
wasn't the it girl yet. She hadn't done Bring It On.
Right. Hadn't done Spider-Man. Yes, she was on the cusp. She was a cusp.
Yes.
Though, I mean, like, she gets first billing in the movie, weirdly, over the legend Gregory Smith. Gregory Smith, when he was later on this show Everwood, which I watched every episode of, weirdly, because I didn't do stuff like that. I didn't watch teen soapy WB shows.
Okay.
But when they were putting out, when that show debuted, they had a trailer for it that said, "This show stars Treat Williams and introducing Gregory Smith." And I watched it, and this is like 4 years after Small Soldiers, and I was like, well, what a slap in the face to Gregory Smith.
This is a big slap.
I know him already.
Let's do a redo.
Yeah.
Right.
And Chris Pratt was on that show. He was burlier. He played like a douchey sort of jockey character.
Glad he found his way-ish.
So this movie has Gregory Smith as Alan Abernathy.
Sorry.
He's a ne'er-do-well. He burns down schools. Wasn't there something like that?
Did they ever get to what it is that made him? You make one mistake, God.
I think they say that he burned down a something or other. This is all over the place because
it's all over the
because they say
he pulled some pranks. He suggests burning down the the store that they own for
Insurance.
And then his very older friend named Joe, also from Gremlins, like gave him a knowing look, like, oh, like, and then the guy's like, you make one mistake. So it leads you to think he definitely set something on fire before.
Yeah.
But then he never gets around.
Arson was involved. I guess they can't, if they give a specific thing to it, then you're like, this guy, fuck this guy. He's an asshole. He burns down people's property.
Something's going on.
You want to make it, wholesome. You're selling it to 8-year-olds.
Yes, that's why I don't think it's fire. Although they do have lots of fire. It is fire.
They just don't specify it.
No, he says what he did. He got kicked out of 2 schools, and whatever. He was the turd burglar.
He put laxatives in everybody's milk.
That's not what the turd burglar did.
Wasn't it?
Are you being serious right now?
From American Vandal?
Turd burglar actually shat in things. They found it in a diorama. They kept finding poop places.
Because everyone had taken the laxatives.
I don't think this is right.
Yes.
Whatever. Anyway.
That guy who
we'll go back to this.
The guy who plays Joe, the delivery guy, that actor is in every Joe Dante movie. Dick Miller.
Oh, his name's even Joe.
And when we were watching Gremlins and he's in there, I was thinking, like, where do I know this guy? And I look up his Wikipedia and I'm like, no, he was never like on Friends or anything.
He did have a very like dad, like I know
he has a face like you're like
Happy Days.
Or like, are you like gangster number 8 in a Martin Scorsese movie or something? And the answer is, I guess I just watched Small Soldiers so often that this guy was in my head. Because he has a very close relationship with Alan Abernathy. But it's all over the place.
Alan
Abernathy. That's
who's that?
The main character's name. Alan.
Oh, I thought you were naming another real person. Oh, all right.
I understand it can be confusing.
Whatever.
They say, like, yeah, that's why you moved here. Like, you just moved to this town.
Right,
but then also, like,
friends with Joe.
Yeah, his dad has owned this store long enough for him to make friends with a delivery driver, and then also for him to say, like, this store never makes any money. You're never going anywhere, Dad. You suck. But it's like, well, didn't you just start the store 6 months ago? Like, give it some time, dude.
That, and I mean, school districts, you just have to move into another school district to get to go to another school. It sounds like he's on his 3rd school district.
Oh, so they moved in the same town.
Yeah, but not the store. So, but why would Joe say you just moved here?
Right.
To this store. You move stores into the school district as well, so you get your mail both places. It doesn't make sense.
No.
There's a lot of shortcuts in this movie. That one's just a sloppy, not catching it something, but like the whole microchip part and the whole way that the doll gets made immediately, I know it just had to be right. It's just, there just needs to be a vehicle to get to the part where the whole point is these action figures. But was that not just the laziest fucking way to do it? This guy hacks into the mainframe and
he doesn't hack.
I know he uses his access card to access military grade microchips.
He works for a defense contractor. He works for a toy company that gets bought by a defense contractor. Right. This is the guy played by Jay Moore. And he and David Cross design toys. And Jay Moore is the one who wants the more, he's more populist and he just wants to chase what kids like. Kids like violence. And Dennis Leary has this great line where he says, let's not call it violence, let's call it action. Kids love action. Dennis
Leary being the CEO of this
the defense contractor
that buys a toy company.
Yeah.
Which just that one action in by itself shows the insidiousness of the military industrial complex.
And that it's all linked. And that when the product is free, the product is you.
I knew that phrase would come out of this podcast.
He is given access to all these resources of the defense contractor. I think the point is that he so easily gets it. It's not a mishap, and that's not like.
No, I don't care that he easily got it. I don't think the technology makes sense. You don't put something inside of a tiny rubber thing and it all of a sudden does stuff.
Okay, but then you could do that with anything. You're like, well, this Star Wars doesn't make sense because there are no spaceships that can fly like that.
No, there's clearly infrastructure there. There's other things doing it. This is the first toy of its kind. They put it out in less than 3 months, and all they did was pop a fucking chip into the back of a G.I. Joe, basically, and all of a sudden it does stuff.
Yeah, you have to make the leap that could actually work.
I leapt there, but I found it very lazy. There could at least be a montage. I guess there was.
That is
well, then
montage.
fit in other things like robotic parts. It's just the chip in the back of a rubber doll's head. That's stupid. You see that there's a robot under it later.
I mean, fine. Yes. Show step 2 instead of step 1.
Just carry on with whatever it is that you're going to fucking say.
They want to make these toys. They have these action figures, and Dennis Leary says, because he's a defense contractor and he's this guy who's profited his whole life
Very defensive
on creating war. What does he say that any hero needs? An enemy. Let's create an enemy.
Ooh.
So we create the Gorgonites. Now, let me ask you a question. What do you remember from your childhood about Saddam Hussein? Or were you aware of Saddam Hussein?
I knew that when people said his name, they were saying the name of a bad guy.
Yeah.
I knew he was related to war. I probably assumed he didn't like America. Is to the extent that I understood what the Middle East was, I would have assumed. I probably thought he lived on a desert or something very racist about
lived on a desert
on it, like in a dune. I don't know.
But it was like
I didn't know much.
Every kid knew that name.
Oh yeah, yeah. The nightly news was a thing.
Yeah, it was very successfully. Listen, I'm not a listener. Full disclosure: Saddam Hussein sucked. He was an evil person. I'm glad he's dead. Even at the time, people were saying, there's a lot of evil people in the world, a lot of shitty dictators, and the media industrial complex seems to be zeroing in on this one particular guy.
Why? What's your theory? Or what? Why?
Because Dennis Leary says we need enemies.
Yeah. Okay. So you can't focus on a few at one time. It seems like the place he lived dictate we wanted that.
The people invested in going to war. The defense contractors, the politicians, the media analysts, the think tank people did a very good job of zeroing in on a character who was very compelling to people, to American audiences, Saddam Hussein, made us hate him, and sold him as this villain that we needed to go take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And
we were in a war drought at the time.
It had been a while.
Been a minute.
And it had been, and
all those factories.
After the Gulf War, there were people.
My chair just broke a little bit. Okay, go ahead.
There were people saying, like, we finally erased Vietnam. Like, we finally got the stink of Vietnam, of the failure of Vietnam out of the air.
But what do we do with all these toys?
That's what I think the Dennis Leary thing. That's what that line is about. Is we need enemies, and it's not like there aren't enemies, but why that one?
Why make one famous? Why make everyone feel that this person's? Why get him known enough so that lots of people can hate him? Because you do plan to take action on that, and you want an excuse.
Yeah, and how are we going to explain to people like my sister, who was born in 2003, 3 months after the war in Iraq started, has not lived in a world in which America has not been at war in Iraq, explain like why that had to happen.
We were all very bored.
That 9/11 happened and we went into Afghanistan, and then separately they also wanted to go to a war in Iraq. And Afghanistan is like not close to Iraq, like at all.
Make a little
very different part of the world, actually.
Right.
And Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11, but there was a lot of patriotism, a lot of even the left and even the American left in the elite were very pro Iraq war.
I never
very
felt
pro-war.
More united with. I never liked the American flag or thought much of it until, everyone had one streaming out of their car.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing.
Do you remember that commercial that was like, terrorists wanted to change America on September 11th, and then it fades, showing like a street in suburbia.
Is it Geico?
And it fades, and then it comes back, and it's the same street, but everyone has a flag in their yard. And it's like, they succeeded.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
Brought to you by America.
Yes.
What was the...
Oh, I have no idea.
Then you're the product.
My God. But that was just the predecessor of, posting a black tile on your Instagram or whatever to show solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Or
yeah, I know that. Right. I liked it. After Katrina, I liked it too. Everyone had to defend New Orleans. And
I feel like such a good person when I put the rainbow tint on my Facebook profile after, like the Pulse nightclub shooting or whatever.
Oh, yeah. When you wrap your picture in a frame. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so
yeah. If I could reach my back, I'd pat it.
Yeah. Do you think that kids' movies like this, an anti-war kids movie, or any kind of kids' entertainment that has a message? I guess this message is too subtle.
I really miss the message
of Small Soldiers.
Yeah, you keep saying it's an anti-war message. I felt the whole time it was anti-corporation. I never thought of what they were doing as military. I thought Dennis Leary was the bad person. Was the bad thing. Now I see.
And he's not even the bad thing. It's just there's a system, the monster, the beast, the maw.
But he's mean.
A participant.
And so that's all I needed.
Anyway. Well, okay, then it's a failure.
It's a failure.
If it is, do you think kids movies or whatever
a kid
can actually shape the way kids view the world?
Can I think of one instance where watching a movie changed me politically or made me aware of a social issue? I think it's when I watched adult movies that happened. Because I'd say the first time that I had that feeling of I've changed some is The Color Purple. So that's not a kid movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you're asking, can a kid movie do that? Would you say Avatar's a kid movie?
It's a family movie, or it's kids. Kids definitely saw it.
I mean, to the extent that you're trying to get a military and just consumerism, just eat up all the resources, take, to the extent that a kid movie can do it, I'd say Fern Gully or Avatar.
I was going to say Fern Gully. Do you think any kid grew up to be an environmentalist because of Fern Gully?
No.
I don't think so either. And it was very trendy for a while to say that Harry Potter created a generation of progressives.
Why?
Because so many people grew up reading Harry Potter, and because it has what seem like these progressive values of tolerance, diversity, because of people of all different. Because Voldemort is somebody who wants purity,
right? Oh, yeah.
Basically, he's a white supremacist,
right. And Hermione is not pure blood or whatever.
Yeah, she's Muggle born, so
oh, right, she's not any blood at all.
Right,
Harry was a
half blood
mixture. Mm-hmm.
It was very trendy to say that that's why so many young people are progressives is because of Harry Potter. And now we know J.K. Rowling hates trans people and is
which is crazy.
You look back again at those books and you're like, well, they're very traditional. And the woman Tonks, the shape-shifting witch who has eccentric hair eventually learns to dress more properly and behave like a proper lady and get married to a nice man. Hermione's the one who figures everything out, but Harry, because he's a brave man, is the one who actually gets to do all the things.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think they're connected. I think
I think we're progressing. Now we're progressives.
And then you look back and you're like, oh, they all read Harry Potter. That's what it was.
That's because it was the most popular thing out there. So most people have had some
everyone read Harry Potter.
Not my cousins, but yeah, a lot of people. I didn't until I was an adult.
Well, I'm probably half the kids who read it grew up to be conservatives and half liberals.
You just put in whatever you want there. Yeah. I mean,
that's really what I'm saying. It's a big
enough world. You just make of it whatever makes you feel, whatever you already had before, you apply it there.
Yeah. Or you pick out something or you say I know this is what they're trying to do, but I see it very differently. Right. I read it very differently.
Like the Bible.
I experience it very differently. Exactly. Just like the Bible. Harry Potter equals Bible.
That's what I'm saying.
This movie's not very good though. It has a lot of interesting stuff. What did you think?
I sat down ready to be so pissed at how bored I was, and just with your precious little time to absorb new music, I feel the same way about TV time. So when you pick a shit movie, I am so mad when it's time to watch it. But it was not like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was not like The Mummy Returns. It moved. It moved enough. The action sequence at the end is probably I don't know that they lean in enough to how easy it is to just kind of like kick them. Like I like whenever I don't like when they're all just they're really resisting and like being overcome by these tiny things. I think it's more interesting if every now and then they land a shot, but most times you just flick them off.
Right.
I feel like they didn't take advantage.
That would be funny.
And then the mom randomly becomes interesting in that fight sequence. Where the fuck? She was a nothing character. And then now she's a tennis pro, and that's the parents develop a bit in that fight sequence. But in a weird way. The sleepy mom,
I think
very athletic mom. Why?
There's like a 45-minute action sequence set piece to end the movie, and that's the part that sucks about the movie. It's so boring. Up until then, it's fine. It like moves. It's like, oh, nice little jokes about the military, nice little jokes about kids' toys. I like the Gorgonites. I like the Commando Elite. They look pretty shitty, but I mean, the CGI looks pretty shitty. The puppetry, it's a mixture of puppetry and CGI. But the voices are all funny. You got Tommy Lee Jones. All the other members of the Commando Elite are voiced by actors who were in the Dirty Dozen. And all of the a few of the Gorgonites are voiced by the members of Spinal Tap, Harry Shearer, Michael McKean, Christopher Guest. Oh. And I
like all those guys.
I certainly like the idea of a thing programmed to kill another thing, and then a thing that's programmed to be a pacifist.
Well, but not just that, programmed to hide. And then when you apply that to reality, what a frustrating fucking toy that is. Because, like, where did it go? Like, you bought $79.99.
Hide from you.
Right. But the Gorgonites, once rattled, will just go in a dumpster. They go to places where they will be disposed of for real. That's just inconvenient. There'd been lawsuits even if the toys hadn't turned violent. Like, the kids just can't find them.
Yeah. And you're going to lose your toy no matter what. So you can just say this toy will hide itself, and your kid's going to lose the toy no matter what, and then you'll be like, oh, it's a hiding toy. That's what we should tell.
How fun.
That's what we should tell Macy anytime she loses anything. Like, well, actually, that was a self-hiding brush.
Okay,
No?
Let's not.
It's a self-hiding remote.
I'll tell you that.
Is this movie just Gremlins remade?
It wishes.
But I mean, it's very the Archer Alan relationship is very similar to Gizmo and Billy.
No, it's not. He's not. That kid's never very nice to that guy. It's annoying.
He's his protector. He takes him with him everywhere. He talks to him. No, he's not.
He doesn't let him talk when he wants. I guess Gizmo gets stuffed into drawers.
Yeah. Oh, come on. It's very similar.
There's even little Gizmo doll that's in them. I mean, they don't hide that it's supposed to be
Joe
very
Dante
similar. Yeah, he's not great at Easter egg hiding, but
And David Cross's password is Gizmo.
And then
Gizmo.
Less than 10 minutes later in the movie, they show a Gizmo.
They do it again, yeah. Oh, they show a Gizmo.
Yeah,
because there's a little Gizmo that's in the dumpster, a little Gizmo action figure. I'm just saying that for the people listening who cannot see the movie in their heads. Like,
might have been a good time to flash on the screen. Because, by the way, we are video recording this as well because we plan to put, from now on, the podcast will also be in YouTube form. Enjoy.
And that's because we both listened to the New York Times Rabbit Hole podcast about how YouTube is like fucking evil and radicalizes people. And the message the message I took away from that is like, we need to be on YouTube.
Right.
The recommendation thing is powerful.
Right.
Because, we have 15 subscribers on YouTube. I'd like to double that by the end of the year.
Oh.
There's one really great moment where, Phil Hartman, this was his last movie, and he's so funny in it. He doesn't have that much to do, but he loves his new TV, and his wife sits down with him to watch their new TV, and they're watching like a war documentary, and she's zoning out and not listening to him, and he's like eating chips, and he just says, I think World War II was my favorite war.
Oh, yeah.
And I laughed so hard. But I also totally relate to that because, like, I'm someone who randomly gets into the American Civil War, World War I, or World War II. It is very I'm a very anti-war person, but I love reading books about wars, and I get
Why let them go to waste? It's already happened.
I get very into the strategy, the characters.
You get into the strategy?
I when I feel like I can understand it, because I have to work really hard to understand it. Okay. But when it starts to click for me, I'm like, oh, I get it now. This is why people love this shit.
All right.
So,
I feel like most wins just kind of, that worked out. I guess I don't buy in so much to the, okay, you're 3 steps ahead. Come on.
I mean, yeah.
That all just kind of worked
My
out.
main takeaway is there is no strategy. It's just who has more people. But I don't know. It depends on what era you're talking about, what technology was available, etc. I remember this. I remember that Lacey's pointing at her watch.
They can see.
She only has so many. Yeah, but most people are still listening.
We have been recording for over an hour, and you took forever to set up.
Okay. Get yourself a small soldier toy, a rodeo burger.
What?
And the small soldiers were very advertised by Burger King. But the rodeo burger was relaunched with the small soldiers.
That makes perfect sense.
But this movie was not a big hit because it was for nobody.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the takeaway.
And if you want this podcast to be for you, then subscribe to it, please, on iTunes.
Well, and literally, we could
Spotify.
tailor it to you if you'd leave a review and tell us what movie you'd like us to.
Yeah, we do listener choices. So tell us a movie that's what is your load-bearing beam? And we'll review that movie and tell you how dumb you are.
Or tell us a movie you hate, and we'll say you're probably right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mash that subscribe button. And happy birthday, Lacey. Aren't you glad that you could get to do this?
Yes, thank you.
With your birthday?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, love you. Bye.